7, it's not quite 7 yet, but
All right.
We can start?
It's not quite 7.
whatever you like.
Welcome. This is the November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to start the meeting by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's decision will be published in the Record Journal on Friday, November 22nd, 2019. The effective date of your variance will be Friday, November 22nd, 2019. The date a certified copy is recorded on the land records. The statutory 15-day appeal period will expire on Sunday, December 8th, 2019. If you commence operations and/or construction during the appeal period, you do so at your own risk. Voting tonight is Mr. Carmody, Mr. Wolfer, Mrs. Tata, Mr. Rise, and myself. First application is 19-026, a variance for Riccatelli for a front yard of 31.2 feet where 40 feet is required, and a side yard of 6.3 feet where 20 feet is required, and a rear yard of 7.3 feet where 30 feet is required to construct a dwelling by vertical addition to existing garage at 9 Grebe Trail, R18 District. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we have staff notes.
You want to come up, sit here?
Applicant seeks front yard of 31.2 feet where 40 feet is required and 31.2 feet exists. Side yard of 6.3 feet where 20 feet is required and 6.3 feet exists. Rear yard of 7.3 feet where 30 feet is required and 7.3 feet exists to construct a dwelling vertically on existing garage at 9 Grebe Trail in an R18 district. Subject property has existing 24-foot by 24-foot garage, formerly an accessory structure to dwelling located at 10 Grebe Trail opposite the street. Variances were granted to 10 Grebe Trail for the same to erect the garage in October 1986. Currently, parcel no longer associated with 10 Grebe Trail and is identified as 9 Grebe Trail, housing an accessory structure, garage, and no primary building. Applicant is proposing a vertical 2-story addition to create a dwelling. Applicant is not proposing an increase to existing footprint of the building, but rather a vertical expansion to existing non-conforming structure. And we also have correspondence from the Health Department dated November 8th, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Riccatelli, 8 Grebe Trail.
Christy Wininger, 8 Grebe Trail.
Okay. Could you explain your application?
We basically want to build off the garage, put a kitchen and a living room on one floor and 2 bedrooms upstairs.
Okay. I'm looking at your design here, and a couple of things that sit out in front of me is you're only going to have 7-foot walls.
Yeah.
And are there any other houses in the neighborhood that are like this?
Yeah, my neighbor, like as far as height-wise, my neighbor's house would be the same height across the street. They're all about the same height. That's why the 7-foot walls
Yeah,
were put
try to keep
in.
them in the
So
same height as everything
stay
else.
within the height range and not have like a,
Monster.
yeah, basically a skyscraper.
Right.
I wanted to keep it within the same height as everybody else.
Right. Well, the other question, when this was allowed to be built, the garage, it was allowed on the property because it was a garage. Now you want to turn it into a house. And with the way the setbacks are, there are houses behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what it's going to do to their privacy.
Well, we're not putting windows in the back to where their houses are.
Yeah, I was just going to do like skylights. And mean, there's only one house directly behind it.
Yeah, there's like one house, it's,
Yeah,
the other one is off to the side.
there's nobody on the far, like the far
We talked to
side.
all the neighbors and they said they don't have a problem with it, they don't care.
Does anybody else got any?
Was there correspondence from the health department, you said?
Yes.
And then can we hear it?
What's that?
Can we hear it?
Madam Secretary, do you have the correspondence for
From, who, I'm sorry.
from the Health Department?
I do. It's, you want me to read
Please.
that? Sure. There is no file for 9 Grebe Trail on record. However, all properties on that road are on septic. Therefore, a B100A application must be submitted to Health Department for review to verify setback distances to well and septic system.
So you're gonna be able to meet with the for the septic?
It's sewer there.
Yeah, we're sewer.
Yeah, it's sewer. Because my father's connected to the sewer.
The sewer there?
Yeah,
there's-
everybody
there's
in the neighborhood's connected to the
Yeah, there's no
sewer.
septic there.
It's well and,
It's all well and sewer.
yeah, well and sewer.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead, Mr. Conlon.
the health department said it is. We need to clarify that before really get anything. Am I wrong?
Should have passed that.
If the health department says it's supposed to be a septic, we need to make sure that,
I realize that, but that would be something that they would have to clear before they're getting any permits,
right.
so.
And I did drive by, and it's really not in character with, I mean, there's a lot of small lots there, but it's really not in character with anything there, in my opinion. Are you gonna live there or sell it?
I'm
Well,
all
we're gonna
with
live
that.
there.
It's really not in character with the rest of the neighborhood.
There is another paper here. Amy, could you kind of fill us in on, this must be part of how they got were able to build a garage there? Is that what this is?
I have some materials that I provided you with, and if you also, would you mind sending those over to the applicant? And I have a copy of the applicant. One is a photograph, taken last week of the property. And the second piece of information there is minutes regarding the variance that was granted to erect that garage on that property. The two parcels were separate parcels, what's known as number 10 and now number 9. They were not a single parcel. However, if you read through the minutes, there was some concerns and some discussions about erecting a garage. And being that it was in the same ownership, it was believed to have been, the intent was that it was number 1, an accessory structure to number 10, and number 2, part of the legal requirements for granting a variance is that you have reasonable use of the land. And so that reasonable use of the land was granted for a garage. So there's two things going on there. The other, the question it raises, so this was just to give you a little history background, where it came from. Now that it appears to have changed ownership fairly recently, now we have a separate, the lots sort of broken off, if you will. They were never merged for planning and zoning because they were not adjacent abutting lots under the same ownership. They were cut by the street. So it's kind of an odd situation, but the one red flag it does raise, and Mr. Chairman, I would ask that somebody address the applicant, is there may be deed restrictions on the land to keep it a garage and or accessory to number 10, and that's very pertinent to any decision you may make.
And how would we go about finding out about that?
I would hope the applicant would know, or certainly the land records may show it. We need to know whether such a thing exists, in which case we can't grant something. So that's a question to be posed, number 1. And number 2, I have concerns from the office standpoint professionally yes, that is an awful tall structure on an awful small lot. We have, views and things of concerns. I had it raised to me today and to the town planner last week anonymously, but that there may be, make sure there's no business being conducted or landscaping business at the property. There appears to be some equipment, so a couple things going on that need to be fleshed out before we proceed. So that's what this background information was. Too late for your packets to just paint the picture a little more. So number one, either we have to clarify the intent of the granting of the garage variance. Was it granted as reasonable use, or was it granted with potential deed restriction in conjunction with number 10?
Just one.
Go ahead, Ray.
How do we know if there's a deed restriction then?
I would ask, question the applicant should know that of their property, if there's a deed restriction on it.
Does that mean,
Are you aware of this?
That's one, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
That's just one scenario, or the other being that if there's no deed restriction, that, again, reasonable use of the property seems to have been deemed in 1986 as a garage. So,
Mrs. Stein.
Thank you. If we did, well, first I would think we would want to maybe see the deed restriction before making a decision, but let's say we didn't. Let's say we were to approve this tonight and then come to find out there is a deed restriction. Does the deed restriction supersede? I would think a deed
yes,
restriction
it would negate your...
would negate
yes.
the ZBA decision. Okay. Thank you.
Reading here what I just browsing through. There's one line here that said, and that building is going to be used only as a garage, no type of living quarters or anything like that, no. 24 foot. So this is going to be a 2-car garage. I mean, I've been through that neighborhood, and that is a very, very small lot, and I do have some questions, and the setbacks aren't, it's very close to the property line to be building something up that high for the neighbors to be having to. In my opinion, it doesn't fit in with the neighborhood, but I know that is a lot of small homes there in that neighborhood. But has anybody else got anything they'd like to add or questions? Oh, Mr. Parisi.
Yeah, does the health department have to approve their end of it? About the setbacks and things?
Well, the septic system is the question, and they're saying it's all sewer in there. That'd be a question I would have.
What about the water supply as well?
Well, they'd have to get a well.
Pardon?
They'd have to put a well in, yeah.
I mean, setback distances well and septic system, so nobody knows there's a septic system there
Well,
in the town?
The area is supported by septic and well. I mean, we're hearing water and sewer, excuse my interruption. We have no comments from the water and sewer department. We do have comments from the health department, and they're saying that they have setbacks relative to the wells and septics on top of the land setbacks, distances from dwellings.
Can I ask you a question? Why wouldn't the water and sewer department comment on this?
Because they would not, one would assume, and that they didn't have an interest. It doesn't affect
No, but I
them,
mean,
so.
we do.
But if they don't service the area, if it's serviced by well and septic, it's governed by the health department.
Okay, so they
And that
have
was
nothing-
thus their
They have
comments,
nothing to do with it.
so.
Okay, good.
Or don't
Thank you.
believe themselves to have an interest in it, so.
Good, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Shawinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in the older minutes, I believe it says something in here about it being okay to build the structure within 5 feet of the property line because it's a garage. If staff could maybe just refresh our memory, so if it wasn't just a garage, the setback would be different, the requirement?
It appears from the discussion in the minutes that, Mr. Chairman has already quoted from, that the intent was to have no dwelling and have it as a garage when it was granted. It was granted for the purposes of a garage, in which case, should it not be accessory on another parcel, a garage, it would be allowed to be 5 feet away. We don't allow a garage
Right.
alone. That appears to be part of this variance, was it was for dwelling purposes. So there may not be a deed restriction, but that was the reason it appears to be granted.
Right.
That's why I gave you the background for you to make that
So
determination.
do we know if it was applied for as the garage and the accessory above the garage, would the 5 feet at that time have been sufficient or insufficient?
It would have been insufficient, and you would have had the same setbacks we have today.
All right. Thank you.
Is anybody else? Mrs. Thompson?
Thank you. Couple of questions. With the with what the existing required setbacks are now, would anything be able to be put on that property, or is it? I'm trying to picture like.
Well, which is again why I believe that the minutes sort of paint the picture in the time, one of the legal reasons for, for granting a variance is with a hardship, and a hardship is you're entitled to have reasonable use of your land. It appears that the Zoning Board of Appeals in 1986 was granting reasonable use of the land for a garage at the time.
And then when, I don't know if you know this or not, or when was this sold, when the two lots were, so it was the same owner, but two lots, and then only one of the lots was sold, or?
The same owner as,
The house was foreclosed
The
on.
kid, when he got foreclosed on,
Okay.
and it was bought by a contractor, and a contractor was trying to flip the house, and what happened was he put too much money into the house, so he divided the
He ran out of
property of
money,
the
so he
garage.
sold the
So he
garage
sold the
separate.
garage to me separate.
Okay, so you don't own the house, you
No,
just
he's-
own the
yeah,
property?
No,
he
I
sold the
just,
garage
I
separate
just
to get
own
the money to finish the
garage
house.
property, yeah, so he sold me the garage so he could finish the house and sell the house.
Okay,
So he
understood.
sold them to two separate.
So you bought it just as a garage,
So I
not one
bought it
piece? Okay.
as a garage, yeah.
Okay. And then just one more question for staff, if you don't mind. Is there a height limit for residential in that area?
30 feet is everywhere for a house.
30, and this would be?
28.
28.
Okay. Okay.
And question the 7-foot walls, we do have, flooring and such between. That
Right.
would be more of a building question I can't answer, but it would be restricted to a 30-foot height.
Okay, thank you.
And one last question I have. For variances, what is your hardship? What are you claiming your hardship as?
Well,
Trying to start a family.
yeah, we're trying to start a family, and
Living with his
we're
dad
living in
now.
my father's house, and it's only got one bathroom, and there's no way I could have
And
kids in
that,
this
that would
house.
kind of be called a financial hardship, which is not, hardship's usually a weird shaped lot, living on a corner lot, you'd have 2 front setbacks, front yard setbacks, and so that really isn't a hardship as far as legally for requesting a variance. So usually it's something that runs with the land, something that, like, it was built pre-zoning, we have that happens a lot.
I don't know. That was my only reason for
Right.
moving,
Right.
you know.
I understand that,
Yeah.
believe me, but I
Yeah.
just, for us legally, there should be a hardship that runs with the land for us to be granted variances.
Well, it's right across the street from his father, so.
Yeah.
When we do have a kid,
Yeah,
Yeah.
He can,
because I don't have any other.
Put the kid in the cold, his father
Yeah, I
can
mean,
come across and
I
watch the
don't
kid
have
when
any
we're at
other
work.
family but my father.
Right.
Really, that's it.
So, anybody else got any questions, further questions? Sam? Be quiet tonight.
Yeah. No questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? can I ask
Mrs.
one?
Tata, go ahead.
Sorry. Is there a way that you could maybe modify this to make it not quite as high? Like maybe just make it one level, or is that anything you would consider? Just so it's not as, blocking the neighbor's views quite as much, or just a little less, intrusive? Is that possible?
If we did that, we wouldn't be able to put
Yeah, I
two
mean,
bedrooms in there, it wouldn't be big enough.
Okay.
because the neighbor where the garage is on this side, I think it'd be about the same height as my neighbor's house on this side. And there's nobody on the far side. There's no neighbors.
It's just the one behind us.
There's just Andy, which is behind us, and he told me he
He didn't really care.
didn't care because he says there's already a structure here anyway I have to look at.
And he said I'd actually rather you guys live there because then it's actually being used instead of just a garage sitting there with no activity.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Do you have anything further you'd like to add before I close the public hearing?
That's about it.
Is there anybody here speak in favor of this application? Anybody speak against? So I'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and possible action by the board. Just a reminder, however we go, we're going to start with an approval first, vote, and then if that passes or if it fails, then we'll do a denial vote.
Mr. Chairman, are we going to go all three different ones?
Yes, all four.
All right, great. I'll do one.
There's three, one was removed.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Pardon me, so if you didn't
Go
get the
ahead,
cross
I'm
out.
sorry, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve application 19026, variance requests for a front yard, 31.2 feet where 40 feet is required and 31.2 feet exist, as shown on plan zoning location survey prepared for Robert Riccatelli, dated September 23rd, 2019, subject to comments of the Health Department received on November the 8th and the verification of the property deed.
Second.
Motion to approve. Mr. Carmody.
No.
Mr. Wolford.
No.
Mr. Rice.
No.
Ms. Tata.
Yes.
And Chairman Huzik.
No.
Second variance, make a motion to approve 19-026, variance request for side yard, 6.3, at minimum where 6.3 exists, and 20 feet is required, as shown on zoning location survey prepared for Robert Riccatelli, dated September 23rd, 2019, subject to comments of the Health Department received November 8th, 2019, and the verification of property deed.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Carmody.
No.
Mr. Wolford.
No to approve.
Mr. Rice.
No.
Ms. Tata.
No.
Chairman Huzik.
No.
And the variance request for rear yard of 7.3 at minimum where 7.3 exists and 30 feet is required, as shown on plan zoning location survey prepared for Robert Riccatelli, dated September 23rd, 2019, subject to comments of the Health Department received on November the 8th and the verification of the property deed. Second.
To approve, Mr. Carmody.
No.
Mr. Wolford.
No to approve.
Mr. Rice.
No.
Ms. Tata.
No.
Chairman Huzik.
No.
You don't have to do another motion
We don't?
in the area, so
Okay.
that's why we do the amendment.
Okay, sorry, your variance has been denied.
Thank you.
Next up, I have a letter. Well, let's do meeting schedule. Has everybody looked at the 2020 schedule?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to accept and approve the schedule for the 2020 year as submitted.
All in favor? Okay, so now I have a letter to read, and this says from Christina Tata, dated November 17, 2019. Dear Chairman Russett, this letter is to inform you of my resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals, effective November 19, 2019. As I have been elected to the Town Council and will begin my term on the Council in January, and as there will be no December ZBA meeting, the meeting of November 18, 2019 will be my last. I would like to thank you and our fellow members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as the Planning and Zoning Department staff, for your dedication to our work and assistance during my years on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I have enjoyed my time serving on the ZBA. I learned a lot about our town, and I've met some wonderful people. Sincerely, Christina Tata. Well, I'm going to say, Christina, thank you for serving with us. Thank you for being secretary. You did a wonderful job. Congratulations on your moving up in the world to the town council.
Thank you.
You're still a traitor, you left us. But in all sincerity, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. Yeah, I'll miss it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I say a few words?
Sure, certainly can.
Christina, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
You're welcome. A couple of things that I just want to bring out, and what Christina has done for the board here, is that you have a tremendous ability for attention to detail. Your organization of the materials that has to be presented from the secretary's point of view makes everyone more informed of what we're dealing with. And you're always asking questions. And I know that all those characteristics that you have will serve you very well in your new position on the town council.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is the consideration of the meeting, minutes for meeting September.
Mr. Chairman, I've seen that there's no receipts for the December meeting. I make a motion that there would be, that the December meeting be canceled.
Okay, well, we're going to do accept the minutes for the September meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, and as Mr. Wolfer said, there is no receipts for the December meeting, so we will be canceling the December meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And last signature.
Discuss December.